Alright, here we go. Alright, we're back on Guitar Talk here. Productions by G. And we're going to jump into some Rush, some Jacob's Ladder off of Permanent Waves. And I'm going to break this down into different sections. One of the things you got to do on this piece, as far as the guitar, it's a lot of counting. If you look at it in numbers instead of chords, a lot of times it'll help you get through the time signatures, because there's quite a few different times that are really odd, as far as the way that the guitar seems to be playing one time signature, where the drums are completely abstract from that when they're really not. But if you're playing the guitar part, you really want to concentrate on just straight on the parts and the timing, and not try to listen to the drums per se. But you have to, but you don't, because a lot of those drum pieces that are in there will throw you off. So let's start out with this. The beginning of the song, a lot of people I've seen play it, they start off playing the note in C, which is the correct chord, and a lot of times you'll play it here, but a lot of times like I said, people that have played it will play it there. On the intro, you want to count each note that you do. Is the first note is 3 notes coming back, and then the next note you do 4 notes coming back, and then those numbers rotate. So you'll do 3 4 3 4 3 4 when you do these chords. So the first note, which is the C, like I said, a lot of people will do it here, but I've studied a lot of video and listened to a lot of concert audio of them playing it, and he does actually play it up here. The very first note that he does play it up here on the 15th fret. And again, this one's 3, so you'll pick down, and then you'll come back with a 3 count. So you got, and that's your first note. And it's not here. You could do it here, but it's not where he does it. You could do it. So there's the same timing and everything, but that's not it. He does do it up here. So that's your first note. It's a C. Basically, this grip is a A15, D14, and then a B13 with the low E's dead, of course. You'll start on your A string, and you want to pick all these other strings open, just go down with it. And that's how you'll start it out. So it's 1 2 3. So there's your timing. So it's 1 2 3 as you go back. So 1 2 3. So there you are. There's your first note. Again, I mean, you could do it here, but if you listen to Exit Stage Left, some of the other ones, you can hear it obviously up here, and actually on the recording itself. So 1 2 3. So there's your intro. 1 2 3. Now once you get these chords going, it moves pretty quickly, and you got to keep track of your numbers and your counting to make sure you got it. So, and again, look, let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 different switches on the positioning before the vocals come in, but it's all in countings: 3 4 3 4 3 4. So your first one will be 1 2 3. The next note you go to is a G sharp, and it's major. So you'll go again, but this one's a 4 count. So it's 1 2 3 4. So let's do those first 2, 3, and then a 4. 1 2 3. 1 2 3 4. So there's your first 2 notes. next one's an F, and you're back to your 3 again. So let's do those first ones again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So as you see, each time you change notes, you go back to your other number. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Sounds kind of simple. You know, you just 3 and 4 and 3 and 4, but when you get it up to speed and you're playing it, it can be quite challenging on the mind, especially about 4 or 5 minutes into the song. You'll see what I'm talking about. It gets really demanding. The whole song is pretty demanding on guitar. It's really technically challenging, which, by the way, that's why I played it on the acoustic and want to present it on the acoustic. That way you can tell what's going on exactly, and I'm not going to hide it with a bunch of distortion and delays and all that stuff. We're going to play it on acoustic. You can see exactly what's going on with it, and the song transposes quite nice on acoustic too. You could play the whole thing on acoustic and it'd be pretty cool. So, which a lot of their stuff's that way, because you know, back in those early days before, you know, the 83 and 84, when they moved heavy into the keyboards, they wrote a lot. Him and Geddy wrote a lot of the stuff mainly on 2 acoustics. So, and you can tell when you play it, it goes over well with acoustic. So, all right, again, the first 3 notes, you got a 3, 4, and 3 coming back on the notes. So you got 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and then you go. Here's your E chord with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it goes back up to the C, but this time you do it here. You don't do it up here this time. So 2, 3. Right here. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you keep them numbers going, and so here's your F. 1, 2, 3. And you want to keep that going. Keep those numbers. It starts out with 3 and then goes 3, 4, 3, 4 all the way through. So you got. Now the next note, it switched it up a little bit. He goes to the F, but he leaves that open B string. So you get, and that's you're on 3 here, so you got the no high E on that one. So again, that's the 3, it's the F, and you want to get that open B string in with it. And it's 3 coming back. 1, 2, 3. And he goes to the G on the 4. G sharp, 3. And that's your whole intro. So you want to, like I did when I was working on it a couple years ago, I took and wrote all the notes down and the numbers and all that stuff, so you know what's going on with that. So let's start out again with the intro. Again, you got a C here. You got the A15, D14, B on the 13, and the other strings are open. The E string's dead on the bottom, and that's a 3. As far as how many times you come back, and then it's 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4 all the way through. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. F with the open B, and it's a 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's your whole intro. Sounds simple until you sit and try it. It can be quite tricky to get it exactly right without hitting any clunkers. So again, you got basically the notes of it are C, G sharp major, F, G, G sharp major, E, C major, G sharp major, F, and then you got the open B, and you got the G major, G sharp major, and then E major, and that's your whole intro. So let's go ahead and run the intro again. We'll do it, I'll slow it down a little bit, that way you can keep your counting if you're playing along or counting along. So here we go. C up here this time, not up here. I did that too many on that F. Did you see that? You gotta do 3. So there you go. And that's your whole intro. So, and again, if you look at it as far as numbers with your chords, it makes it easier to keep track of. Again, it's a rotation, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, all the way through. And the last one, it starts on a 3, but you'll end with a 4. So, and I think on this song he used a probably the SG hollow body, because on that album he used it quite a lot. Probably used it on a majority of the songs on that one. I think that's right before he got the Howard Roberts guitar with the some of the mods he had on it when he used on the moving pictures. So, well, he used Strats on that CD too, but this particular CD I think he was using the semi-hollow bodies. What you got to go to next is where the verses come in, where the singing comes in here. You're going just to a C note. Now this one's also tricky, and the reason I know it's tricky is because when you play this, if you sit and look at the lyrics and try to sing those lyrics and play this time signature rotation, you can't do it. Even Geddy doesn't sing and play this time signature during the song. It's pretty tough to do. You can't. Plus, why would he bother? I mean, it's not worth that much effort to do it. So now what you're doing here, you want to count on this one. It stays on the C. But what they do, he picks 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then he does 2. So it's, and that's your first 2. And again, you got to look at this song in numbers too to help you really get through it a lot cleaner and a lot easier. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Then he does 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's a 3. So it's, that's the rotation. Even when the lyrics come in, your ears will try to trick you into thinking that it changes. But that's only because the lyrics come in at an odd time. So you don't want to pay attention to that lyric timing the way you think it should go. You want to keep that 5-2, 5-3 picking pattern going. So and that's your picking pattern when the lyrics come in. Sounds simple enough, and it is until the singing comes in. Then your ears start playing tricks on you, So let's go ahead and do we'll do the intro again into the part where the singing would come in. So, and again, keep your counting. 3/4, 3/4 on the intro, and when the C note comes in, it's 5-2, 5-3 on your numbers as far as the picking time. So. C up here. F with the open B. Here's your picking part with the C. 5-2 and 5-3. 5-2, 5-3. And that's your whole intro up to, you know, where the words start coming in. And that pretty much goes as far as all the verses on the intro. That's what he's doing the whole time. So you got clouds prepare for battle. And then the keyboard is actually, in the back, is actually playing the changes under it. So all you're basically doing is sort of, which actually could be just a bass part. So you're just playing 1, 2, 3. And that's pretty much what he does. And then you got right up to where it says Distant Overture. And that's where it comes in with it. Now when he says that, he goes to, and on this song you got to remember, he uses a lot of full chords on this one, you know, be it with open strings or full bars. So the song could be quite a workout on your hand, if especially this part in the middle. So if your dexterity isn't up to par, or you're not used to using your pinky, which I've talked about in previous lessons, you got to use your pinky, especially on this one. There's really no way around it. And if you don't use your pinky, you're going to have a almost impossible task of getting through this part in the middle. So again, where he comes in out of this, thunderheads are rumbling in a distant overture is what he says. Distant overture. And that's your two notes, basically F, G, and G sharp, just full bars. And I think he's got a little bit of chorus on the guitar, not a lot. But and this is back when, you know, when he was still had his ballsy sound of, you know, the Marshalls and the Hi-Watts, before he went into really using a lot of processed stuff and thinned out his sound, which I'm not a big fan of, you know, his tone basically after Moving Pictures. I mean, it was still good stuff, but it wasn't nothing like he did before, you know, all that. So again, Distant Overture, F, G, and G sharp, and they're all major. So then he goes into this note, which is a B with a F sharp bass. And again, these are full notes. So that's your first two notes. And that's a B, again with your F sharp on the root. And this one here, this was your C. And he plays it with the two open strings on the top. So you got all the way across. So you kind of hit the first four strings and then hit them last two. So that's your first two notes on that. And this is your F sharp, again, that he uses a lot with the two high strings open. So there's your part there. So let's go ahead and we got about 5 minutes for a break. So we'll do let's do the we'll start out where the words come in and then go to the this part here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Then you go to F. And then he comes in with the cool little, this is the lick that he does. Now he does, on this lick, he throws in a, you know, again, I've studied his stuff exclusively, extensively, a lot, so I know what he's using. He uses a Matrix Electric Mistress, whatever they called it, pedal back then. That was I used to have one. It was a little metal pedal, had actually a power cord on it that plugged in. But he does turn that pedal on this part and gets that sound going. You could probably use a chorus to get away with it, but that's actually what he was using on that at this time on that. That lick, this lick coming up, which is kind of the melody to it, can be quite tricky to pick up by ear. I actually had to, just to make sure. I mean, you could get on YouTube and people can show you what they think, you know, how they did it. I actually slowed it down from the recording just to make sure. So we'll come out of this part and go into that lick. I'll show you how that lick goes, the fingering of it, and the way to do it that's most comfortable to me, and would be for you also if you wanted to try it. So you got again, full chord, open notes on the top, open notes again, open notes here, and now here comes your lick. And that's basically it. He's low E, 7th to 10, and that's your first two notes of that lick. And again, I go back to you know, using your pinky. I would definitely recommend it on this part too, to make this part smooth. So it's. And that's the lick that he does there. So you got E on the 7th and 10th, and then you got a D on the 7th and G on the 7th. So you got, that's your first four notes of that. And then he hits the 9th but slides up to the 11th, so it's on that G. So that's your first five notes. And you can, you know, stick a little vibrator on it a little bit if you'd like. So let's review that again. So you got E on 7 and 10, GD on 7, G on 10, on 11, sorry about that. Slide up, back, G, G, little vibrato on the D on the 11. So it's, let's see. And that's pretty much how he does that lick when he does it, with the exception of one time. He does it differently, and it's one note difference, but it's a half step down. It makes a huge difference in the sound. So let's before we go to break here, let's go ahead and review that change right into that lick. So you got, all right. There's your part there with the lick, and again he uses the well, he said they called it a electric mistress or something like that back in the day. It was a pedal with a cord on it. That's what he used on that part. Let's do it again. So there's your, and you can see by using your pinky, you're keeping your hand comfortable. You're not shuffling around trying to squeeze things together. You just lay your hand there. Your hand, like I said, your hand always lays comfortably on 4 frets. So you what? See how smoothly that, it even looks smoother when you do it that way. Just like that. And there's your first section of the song. We're going to take a break here, and we'll come back and I'll get you into that some of the meaty parts of this song that are that can be pretty demanding as far as some of the stretches and some of the things like that. So we good for a break, G? All right, we'll be back in a few minutes. Stick around. This is really interesting stuff. Alright, we are back here on Guitar Talk, and some Alfie Lucky there playing on the break from one of his recordings he's done. Some good stuff there. If you're into some of the progressive stuff and some of the arpeggio driven stuff, that's the man to go to. He's got a lot of cool music out there that that you would really like, so check him out. And let's get back into the next part of our song here of Jacob's Ladder, which again, this is a Rush masterpiece in my opinion. It's just it's a great piece. We've worked up pretty much, I think, to about 451 on the CD is where this part would come in. I think I'd have to look at it to make sure, but the next part coming up, let's go ahead and review back where we were. We'll go over that real quick and move into this. So basically we were coming from the chords. And again, on these chords, they're full chords. He kind of strums the chords at the bottom, and then he kind of hits them pretty tight at the top, so he kind of separates them. So you hear that separation between the two. You don't want to hit the whole thing and just go. That's not how he's doing it. It's so again, you don't just want to strum it along one. That's not how he's doing it. You want to get that tight separation of the chords. So then you go in your lick. And again, he's using that effect there, which I described earlier. Now the next part coming up, he did two pieces. It's not actually an octave divider. I think he actually did play the parts twice, but you can play it. You can play it on the B string by itself to get the melody, or you can do it like I would like to do it, is just play it in octaves, so you get the effect of if you don't have an octaver and you want to play it. Basically, that part, what he's doing is the melody of it is. So I like to use, again, playing it as an octave, and just get that way you get the full sound of it. And for simplicity's sake, so it sounds the way I'm trying to tell you, I'm going to pick it like that. So it's. And that's what he's doing right there. So you got, basically you got your B string 14, 12, 11, 12, 14, and then 15, 14, 12, 14, 15, 12 on the high E. Simple little melody, but it cuts through really good on the song. It just fits it perfectly. So. And that's the melody he does. So let's go out of that lick and then go into the melody. And that's pretty much what he's doing on that part, in the middle. So you're going between that lick. And then after that he goes into the lead. I've seen him play the lead a couple different ways. The lead is pretty short. He didn't really overdo it. So let's go ahead and go into the lead. On the lead he does a couple of like overbends that he does quite a lot that I like the way he does them. So let's see. Then he does a bend 17 on the B. He just does a regular full bend. Then he goes up to 19, little overbend. And that's kind of pretty much what the lead does there. So it's, which that's a pretty basic maneuver there for most of us. 17th fret on the B. So then he goes to a 19 with a slight overbend. Then he does a bend and goes back to the 15th. Then he does a like a little minor scale where he kind of jumps around. So it's, and you can do it kind of, you don't have to do it exactly, but that's the scale you want to stay in right there. So it's and again, you know, I did this on the acoustic, so you can really tell what's going on in this thing, because you don't want to hide what you really should be doing with a lot of distortion. So that's why, you know, this makes it sound exactly the way it should, and keeps it to where everybody can really tell what's going on without hiding it with a bunch of junk. So again, 17, you bend it up. 19 with a slight overbend. Back to 17 with a bend. That's a little bit of an overbend too, but not a lot. And then 14 on the high E. And at the end of this next lick, he does a little artificial harmonic kind of thing in there, so, which you can't really do here on acoustic, but you want to get that in there too. And the next part, he just comes down into basically the B scale. He does a little overbend there on the D on the 11th. And that's it on the lead. So let's go out of let's do the first part of the melody, the octave thing, and then go into the lead. So you got. And that's your lead. That's your lead. That's just how he does the solo. And he goes back into that other lick again. Now this time when he does it different because there's another part coming up. So you got. He goes back a half step on that. And then what you do here, he goes into a F sharp or a B with an F sharp bass, full chord. And this is the part coming up now where they do the where it's going to get kind of tricky. So it's. So there's what he's doing there, and it's full chords, and he just keeps it going. Basically, we've already reviewed whenever these chords, so you got. Move up to the C with a G on the bass. Full chords, you want to keep them chords going. And that's what he's doing. Now, what happens next is the keyboards come in, so then he starts playing this a little bit different. So he starts chopping it up a little bit. Same chords, but he's playing it different. So it's. And that part there can be quite taxing on your hands if you're not accustomed to, keeping that going and playing those full chords. Because he plays those chords, like I said, in a full chord. It's tough to keep them held down and keep them going. So. I'd recommend on that is to downstroke on that quite a bit, because if you get doing it back and forth, it's more of a strumming like you're really playing it on the acoustic. If you're playing it electric, you want to get the power on that, so you want to keep downstroking on that one. So. Because if you get the acoustic thing going with it strumming, it doesn't sound the same. You want to keep that power thing going. So that part there rolls on, and there's a keyboard solo they're just kind of playing along with when they got the bass pedals going, holding down the low end. What that does, it leads into the break in the middle where they do the another verse with just the keyboard. So it's we're going to go into that. And here comes your break. Now, we've done this part before, and we did it, if you go back and review, it was 5-2, 5-3 on the numbers. This time they only do it twice, but they do it 5-2, 5-2. They switched it up. Why, I don't know. That's just how they do things. There's never anything simple with them, so you always remember that. So it's, and then it just starts doing this, and it fades out like that. Then it comes in with the keyboard part. And that's where he sings the verse, the clouds are parted, bright and broken beams, and all that stuff. And that part goes on for, I'd say, probably a minute or so. And so let's go out of the chords we just did and go into that part. So you got... Again, he just fades that out right there on fives, doing it in fives. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, and again, that's the keyboard part. We've only got a few minutes here, so we're going to do this real quick. This next part, this is very demanding on your hands. If you're not used to like I said, using your pinky on this part, you're going to be dead in the water, so to speak, because you pretty much have to on this one. What happens there? He comes out of that, like I said, does the keyboard part. All of a sudden, this guitar lick comes in. So it's, and what you got to do on this one, it starts out with the A on the 5th fret, which is D. And then the next note with your pinky is the D on the 7th. So that's your first two notes. And again, your hand, you lay your hand there. Remember, your hand always lays comfortably on about 4 frets. So that's your first 3 notes. That's your first 3. A5, D7, G4. So that's the first part of that lick. And then it's D5, D4, and then G7. So it's, and that's the lick. The problem is like I said before with Rush, they always change things up. They don't but nothing's predictable, and nothing's cliche. Everything they do has always been, you know, something that pretty much nobody had touched yet. So the lick, full lick, you do the whole thing twice, and then what he does, he adds in the D on the 7th one time to throw off the time signature. And when he hits that, that's what you can't, in this part especially, you can't listen to the drums because it'll throw you dead in the water. You gotta listen to the drums because there is a timing there, but it will throw you off if you listen to it. You gotta just keep your pattern going, and this is another one where you gotta count and just keep that in your mind. So it's he does that twice. Now the next one he goes to is an F sharp. He does the same pattern, but it starts out in F sharp. So it's same fingerings and everything. So and he throws in that extra note to throw off the timing of it. So it's and you want to keep that going. He does that for quite a while, so it's really taxing on you if you haven't worked that out in practice. You can see I've had a little trouble there for a second. Again, the first one is just, and that's what you would consider a full round of that progression, and you do it twice completely. So it's, I'll play it different so you can hear what's going on, but this is twice. That's once. That's twice. So you do it twice and then add in that D on the 7th to throw the timing off. So it's, did you hear that right there? That quick, that throws it off just enough to make it where, you know how they are with their stuff. So it's, and he keeps that going for a while. Now and again, they switch it up again. It's laughable sometimes the way they do it. So, and there's more switches ups coming. So just on this song, it's not done. So you got that. So he does that back and forth, like I said. And he goes to this one again. Now this time when he goes up, he switches it up a whole step, and they do it out of E for a second instead of D. So you got. And then they go down to the F. So let's do that. Let me get my foot under here. So you got. And they do that part twice. So it's, and I'm going to do it slow so you can see what's going on. So you got. And what he does when he hits that note that makes it off time, he kind of slides down. So it's. So he does that. Now that's the part that takes a lot of work. That part will, again, that'll strain your hands. It's mentally it'll aggravate you. It's tough to get through. So let's review it and we'll do it slow, and then we'll go into the next part that's laughable the way they did it, and there's no reasoning behind it. It's another thing where you have to look at as numbers, and it's hilarious. I mean, why they did it that way, but that's how they are. So you got. So you do all that, and again he slides up to the E. And then he goes to the E. Now the next part coming up is where they do this like a crescendo, and so he'll come out of the E. And what this is, I wrote it down so you know what's going on. If you just go by numbers, the best way to do this, it's an F sharp chord, major. Basically, what they do here, they do it in numbers of 5, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 7, 1, 1, 2. There's a pause, 3, and then 12. And when you play this, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's the numbers that they do it with. So it's 5 on the first one, kind of slow, and then there's 4 2 different times, so it's, and these 4 are fast, so it's, and then 1, so it's, and then 2 fast ones, 3 slow ones, 7 fast ones, 2 singles, 2 fast ones, and then a pause, 3 fast ones, and then 12. And that's what leads you to the end of the song. So you got, we'll do 5 slow, pause, 12. So that's your tricky part right there. Basically, if you write down the numbers, it'll help you keep track of it. But that alone won't help you, because they do it like some of them they'll do slow and some of them they'll do fast. So the first 5 are slow as far as the way they're doing it, and the next 4 are 2 or 4s in fast. Two fast, 3 slow, 7 fast, 2, pause. And this is the part in the end where it goes, follow men's eyes as they look to the sky, and it's an A with an open, follow men's eyes as they look to the skies, shifting shafts of shining, which is E, weaves the fabric. And you can do that as that, or you can play it here. So you got of their dreams. And that's the last note of the song. He hits that A there, so it's... And that's the end of the song right there. That's how you play that one. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, is Jacob's Ladder by Rush. If you want to get through that one and learn it, I would recommend making time to sit down and really work on that one, because it's a tough one. One of my favorites. So appreciate you watching, and I did want to do a couple more, but we'll save those for next time. So we'll do some more Rush later. Appreciate everybody watching. I hope that helps you out on that song, breaks it down, and helps you with the some of the things that are throw people off, especially the timing.